diagnosed and treated this musculoskeletal system a lot like we've treated other systems of the body. And for whatever reason, I have some theories on it. But when we got to the musculoskeletal system, if you look at how it's cataloged, diagnosed, and treated currently, we don't treat it like a system. We treat it like parts. So it's very isolated range, isolated plane, isolated muscle, stretch and strengthen on that isolated plane, range, or that specific muscle. But if we look at other systems of the body, you can see that we don't take an isolated map. I say cardiovascular, I say digestive, I say respiratory. You picture an integrated system from head to toe to fingertips, and you see a cycle that system will rep out thousands of times a day. You're watching the cardiovascular pump blood. You're watching the digestive pump food. You're watching the respiratory pump air. And it does this inherent cycle thousands of times a day. So there's an integrated system working on a cycle and moving something through that cycle. Well, we took that same logic to the musculoskeletal. So we're asking, obviously, after looking at it as a system, it's most definitely integrated. People are looking at fascia more nowadays, and they're starting to come to the realization that it's not a G.I. Joe, it's not a Lego. I can't throw the arm off and put the arm back on. We have to have all these pieces harmonizing together. So we want to find what its cycle is and then find what it's moving through that cycle. I think if you just start to stop and think about it a little bit, you already know what that cycle is. What's the thing that the musculoskeletal does thousands of times a day? The walking cycle, right? The gait cycle. Without it, you can't affect any change on the environment, and you're quite literally a vegetable. So in order to go move out through your environment from point A to point B, you've got to cycle through, and in that cycle, you've got to move something. This is why I think it's been a little bit trickier with the musculoskeletal, because it doesn't stand out as much as, well, the blood to the cardiovascular, the food to the digestive, and you see the reaction of the lungs to the air. It's kind of easy to see that, yeah, I've got to pay attention to that air, to that food, to that blood if I really want to understand that cardiovascular, digestive, and respiratory systems. Well, now when you look at the musculoskeletal, we're going to pay attention to the pressure, because that's what's being moved through this musculoskeletal system throughout every single step of our day. So we call it a pressure wave, because I'm going to drop in, I'm going to load my pressure to one side of the body, and like a pogo stick, it's going to load up and then it's going to transfer. And we're going to ping pong this body weight, this pressure from one column to the next over and over thousands of times throughout our day. And pressure bursts pipes. So if those compartments, foot, shin, thigh, torso, upper limb, if they're not organized correctly and they're not harmonizing, then you're going to have problems upstream.